Okay, so we are graphing cosine, and a cosine wave goes down first, and it looks like this normally. A flipped cosine graph will go up first, and it looks like this. So a normal cosine wave and a flipped cosine wave. I'm going to show you what each of these numbers do in this equation. So we will start with the 2. The 2 is the up or down shift, and it helps you find your middle value. The negative, this 8/5 right here, is your left or right shift, and it helps you find your first dot. So we'll label that left or right shift. And then the 3/5 right here is your B value. Your B value is plugged in to your formula, which is PV equals 2 pi, and it helps you find your P value. So the 9 is your stretch factor, and your stretch factor helps you find the top and the bottom of your graph. As it says in the directions, to label the top, the middle, and the bottom of your graph. So in order to do that, we would have to use each one of these shifts. So to find the middle, we will do the 2, and we'd go up 2, since it's a positive 2. So we go up 2, and we'll label that, and then we'll jump over here to the 9, and the 9 is our stretch factor, right? So from 2, we will have to go up 9, which is 11, and down 9 from 2, which is -7. Next, we will have to find our P value by plugging in our B value into our formula, PV equals 2 pi. So we will take our P value, so we'll go P, and then the B value, which is 3/5, equals 2 pi. So to show our work, we would have to multiply both sides by 5 to get rid of the bottom. So cross out, and you are left with P3. P3 equals 2 pi times 5. So you will go 5 times 2 is going to be 10. And so you get P3 equals 10 pi. And you will have to divide the 3. And so your P value is 10/3 pi. So that's our P value, and our P value will help us find the second and third dot. So we have to take the P value and subtract it, or no, add it to our shift, our left or right shift. So we will go 10/3 pi minus our 8/5, because 8/5 when outside of the parentheses is a negative. And that will, well, they don't have common denominators, so we have to give them common denominators in order to find the answer. So, 10/3, the common denominator would be 15, so we have to multiply the top and the bottom by 5 for the first one, and that would equal 50 over 15 pi, and it's still subtracting from 8/5, but the 8/5 will be multiplied by 3 for the top and bottom, and that gives you 24 over 15 pi, which equals 2615 pi. And that is your second point. So now that we have all our information, we are going to make a cosine wave, just like this one, because it is a normal graph, or a normal wave. So we'll take our first point, which is our left or right shift. It's our first point, so we will go to the left 8/5, which would be right here, and since it's a normal graph, it's not flipped like this one, we will put the first point on the top at 11. Then we will have to label our second point, and that is 26/15 at 11. And in order to determine whether our middle in our wave is on the left or the right, we would average 26/15 and -8/5. To average, you add them both together and you divide by 2, and it is going to be positive, so it goes on the right side. So our wave will look like this. And with that point, because that's the average, the middle, so it's positive. And then we have to label our first and our last dot on our graph. So our first dot, which is -8, it's 8/5, so -8/5 pi, and the point, and it goes up 11, so comma 11. That's our first point. And then we will go over to our second point, or our last dot, and we will label 26/15 pi, comma 11, because that is its coordinate points. So that is how you graph cosine. I want you to try this next one on your own, right here. And the difference between these two is that the one that we just did said to sketch 1 cycle, but you're going to sketch 2 cycles. Sketching 2 cycles, you will have to add your p-value and your stretch factor twice this time. So you would add, if this was sketch 2 cycles, you would add 10/3 and -8/5 together, and you get 26/15. And then you would take your p-value and your second dot, and you would add those together to find your third dot. And you will label it a little bit different, but I want you to try it, and I'll show you the answers. So go ahead, pause the video, and then go ahead. Okay, so here's the answer. And then we will do the bottom of this next one. Okay, so we're doing 4. So this one's a sketch 2 cycle, so I can show you how to do it. So just like our other one, looks like we will start with the 4 right here, and you will go up 4, and then we will go to our stretch factor, which is right here, and we will go down 5 and up 5. So that gives us 9 and -1. Next we will we have to find our p-value, so we have to plug in our b-value to our equation. So PB equals 2 pi. And our b value is 3/7. So we will go p 3/7 equals 2 pi, and it would equal p value equals 14/3 pi, and then we have to take our p value and add it to our stretch factor, which is -9/2 pi. So 14/3 pi minus 9/2 pi equals, we have to find a common denominator, and that would be 28/6 pi minus 27/6 pi, and our second point equals pi/6. So pi/6, only our second point. And since we are trying to sketch 2 cycles right up here of our graph, then that means that we need to find our third point. So we will add our second point and our p-value together. So it is 14/3 pi. 14/3 pi plus pi/6, 1/6 pi, equals 29/6 pi. And that is our third point. So 29/6 pi is our third point, and that is the point that we have to label on this graph. So we will go and label our dots. So our first one is -9/2 pi. I could use color for you guys, sorry. Right there. And then it's -9/2 pi, comma, -1. And then we will have to show our work for where our top of our wave would be. So we'd have to add pi/6, 6, and -9/2 pi together, and then we have to divide by 2, and it equals a negative, sorry. So that means it's going to be on the left side, and it'll be up here at 9, because it's flipped graph, right? So we'll start down here and go up, and then so that's that. And then we will have our point down here. And this is our second point. This is pi/6, comma, -1. But you don't have to label this one unless you are positive that it is right. And then this has to be on the positive side, so we'll just put that point up there. And you can also do like we did here and average to see. And so then we'll label our last point, which is what we're supposed to label, 29/6 pi, comma, -1. And that is how you do this problem. So we can finish it off. Sorry, not that pretty, but it'll look something like that. Okay, so now I want you to do number 3.
Okay, so this is problem number 3. Go ahead, pause the video so I can show you the answers.